Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Glenn Mills. It is time to go inside Utah politics. We do begin this morning with Lannie Chapman. She's the Democratic candidate for Salt Lake County Clerk. Lannie, welcome to the show. So glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You bet. An interesting race, as I pointed out, the first time in 32 years Sherry Swenson has not been involved. What is your interest in taking over?
So I've been in Sherry's office since 2019. I have the experience and qualifications, and it's very important to me that every eligible voter has access to the ballot, both through in-person voting and our wonderful by-mail system. I want to make sure that everybody who would like to participate and should participate can participate in a safe and convenient way for them.
You mentioned you've been working in the office, but give us a little more specifics on your background. What have you been doing exactly over the years?
So I started in the county when my daughter was 1 year old in 2015 as a deputy district attorney. And then in 2019, Sherry tapped me on the shoulder and asked me to be her chief deputy. So basically her right-hand woman. And I've been filling that role ever since.
Okay. As you take a look at the next 4 years, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing the county clerk's office?
Sure. Never before has election administration been so focused and under the microscope. I think things that we need to do, and I would like to do, include making sure that the voters understand the policies and procedures that we have in place to make sure that their votes are safe and protected.
Let's talk a little bit more about that, because you're right. We've seen a new spotlight shined on you and other election workers really across the country. When you see that and you see the skepticism centered around our election system, what is your main message to people who think that maybe nefarious things are happening?
We've been doing vote by mail and in-person voting here for ages. Since 2016, we've been doing vote by mail primarily in the state of Utah and in Salt Lake County. We've got some great statutes on the books to make sure that people are protected, that their voice is the ballot that they cast, and we ensure that that happens through a ton of mechanisms, and that's something that I would like to highlight.
Let's do that right now, because that's one of the big questions I see brought up by skeptics here locally, is this issue of chain of custody. How do you ensure that you have a legitimate chain of custody when we talk about the processes that are in place right now?
So starting with our statewide database, VISTA, that we use, all voters have been vetted that are in there. So we only send a ballot to active registered voters. Those ballots, on the envelope, you'll see there's your voter ID number, but under it is a 9-digit code. And it's not just specific to you, Glenn. It's specific to every single active registered voter in Salt Lake County and that election. So say, for instance, your dog ate your ballot. You'd call me and say, Lannie, I need a new ballot. I would cancel that old ballot and envelope, send you a new one. If for some reason that old ballot came back to me, the VISTA system, the mechanisms we use, know not to count that ballot, to segregate it, to put it aside, so that we wouldn't count that. In addition to that, we have 5, 6, 7 versions of everybody's signatures. We get those from the driver's license division, from party registrations, from party affiliation, and former ballot affidavits. So we have a lot of signatures to compare the signature that you put on that by-mail ballot to what we see.
I have to ask, have you heard that excuse before? The dog ate my ballot?
Absolutely.
I'm sure you've heard a lot.
It's more than just homework.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard a lot of good ones. Talk about the curing process. As someone who's worked in the clerk's office, you've seen that happen. I know Sherry reports that thousands of ballots every election cycle go through the curing process. What does that do to ensure a fair vote?
So we're going to cure a ballot if somebody forgot to sign their affidavit on the envelope. It happens more often than you would think. If the signature doesn't match, if we looked at all of the signatures that we were talking about earlier, and we can't say that this signature matches using the education that we have the FBI, an FBI training come in with our team to train how to compare signatures. It's not just that it says Glen Mills, it's that the ascensions, descensions, the pauses, the white space looks the same.
There's been a lot of issue, not necessarily here locally that I've seen, but across the country where poll workers, election workers are coming under fire and threat. What are your thoughts, and how do you manage that potential if you are to become the county clerk?
Sure. It's terrible that our poll workers they're volunteers, they're heroes. They're putting themselves out there to make sure that people's voices are heard, are being under threat. We're using our UPD officers to go pick up ballots at drop boxes, so we're no longer using poll workers to do that in teams of 2 pursuant to our Utah statute to make sure that those ballots stay safe. But as far as our poll workers regularly, we talk to them, we work with the state to make sure if there are any known threats that they're being handled and taken care of in a quick and efficient manner.
Do you believe there is a need to more closely monitor ballot boxes?
We're doing that pursuant to statute right now. So we have any unattended drop box, as you know, has a security camera on top of it. And like I said, when we have pickup at those drop boxes after ballots have been mailed out on October 18th through November 8th, Election Day, we have officers going and picking up in teams of 2 and bringing them back to our office to make sure that that chain of custody stays intact and those ballots are as safe and secure as physically possible.
When you talk about encouraging everyone to vote and making sure everyone who's eligible to vote can do so, do you have other ideas how to further expand that in the future?
I would want to make sure that people understand those policies and procedures that we have in place. And with voter education, we're not just talking about right before an election. I want people to understand when it's a municipal year, an odd year, what kind of things to expect on your ballot, even before we know who the candidates may be.
Talk about mail-in voting. You've already expressed support for that.
Absolutely.
I believe the last election, somewhere around 90% of all votes were vote by mail. So that is something you believe you want to protect and continue to operate in the state of Utah.
I'm a huge advocate for it. It allows people like me, a busy mom, full-time worker, to still be able to vote my ballot, look up the candidates, look up the questions, and make sure I'm voting for candidates and questions that align with my values.
What's the difference between you and your opponent?
I have experience. I've successfully run 8 elections in the Salt Lake County Clerk's office already. I'm working on my 9th now. I'm a huge advocate for our both in-person voting, making sure that we have those accessibility requirements, that first a same-day registration takes place, and those people that like the tradition of in-person voting have the opportunity. But for the other 90% of us, we can vote by mail in a safe and secure way.
What's at stake here as voters make this decision in Salt Lake County from your mind?
In my opinion, it's experience, qualified candidate versus somebody who isn't, who's not been tested yet.
Our viewers who are watching this and would like to get to know more about you, first off, what's your final pitch to them? And second, where can they learn more?
Sure, my final pitch is public offices need to stay in the hands of public servants. I've worked for the county since 2015, from the clerk's office since 2019. I have the experience and qualifications to make sure that every eligible voter has the opportunity to have their voice heard in Salt Lake County elections.
All right, and do you have a website where people can go to find out more about you as well?
I do. It's LannieClerk.com.
All right. Very interesting race on our radar. We will be following it through election night, and we appreciate your time here. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Coming up, taking a closer look at